Well, hey there, you're on the internet. I managed to scrounge together some more free time, and welcome to the Triple N Network, where all you newbie nib nerds can find all the news you'll need. Let's look at an ink today, shall we? Today's ink, as you can see, one of my older inks. I've had it for a while. Noodler's Midnight Blue. Yeah, I've used like a good third of the bottle. It's a good, rich, dark blue, but I really can't call it a blue-black. It really is just like a dark, midnight blue really is what it makes me think of. Growing up in a city where we don't have many stars, and we do have a lot of ambient light, the sky really does look like this dark, grayish blue. So, let's look at the chromatography. Yeah, not a great deal of water resistance. Something that I kind of like about this, though, it almost looks like those pictures you see of the northern lights, where it's got some of the blue and a little bit of green and purple. Yes, it's pretty complex, but not terribly water resistant. Yeah, so all the tests were done in this Hero 616, which is a Parker 51 knockoff, with a slightly broadened nib, which admittedly I did myself. So let's get started. From the top down in density, Clairefontaine 90 grams per square meter. Yeah, I'm gonna say it over again and again in this review, I can tell already. It's not a blue-black. It's a dark blue. It's a hazy sort of sky blue. It's like a night sky blue. It's a bit gray, a bit woolly, but it's got great shading. So, yeah, not overly dark. No bleed feather spread. 9 seconds to dry, which on Clairefontaine really isn't that bad, especially on, broadened nib. Yeah, it's got good color. It's well behaved. I hope that comes through, some of that shading. And again, the water test, or not again, as we see for the first time, not terribly water resistant. There is a little bit that remains, slightly purplish, but yeah, not super consistent. And as you'll probably be able to see, the paper is coming apart. Like, you don't even have to, like, there. Sounds like sandpaper. But yeah, so even still, like here it's not terribly sandpapery, and some did remain. Here it is sandpapery and a lot of it left. But still, it's fairly light, so I wouldn't give it high marks for water resistance there. Next is Rhodia, 80 grams per square meter, 4 seconds to dry, which definitely impressed me. But yeah, again, good shading. Like, look at Lazy. I feel like that's a good example. It really is a dark gray blue. It's a very nice color. No bleed feather spread. Good flow. I realize I haven't said that yet. It has good consistent flow, not overly wet, not overly dry. Water test, again, not great. It's really not ideal. A little bit remains, but not much. The paper didn't come apart, so that really is I feel like a more accurate representation of how it reacts to water. But not terribly show-throughy, despite the fact that it's a fairly dark blue ink, so that's kind of nice. Next is Tomoe River Paper, where I feel like, okay, so 9 seconds to dry, that's fairly consistent. Like, a lot of times, how long it takes for inks to dry on this paper tends to be about the same for how long it takes to dry on Clairefontaine, which we saw again. So 9 seconds, good shading, not terribly dark. I mean, it is like a grayish, rich sort of a blue, no bleed feather spread, not a great water test, little bit there, but not much. The paper did start to come apart, which you can see. I mean, some of the, but still, it's, this I felt like there was some potential for show through, just because this paper is so thin. Next is 20-pound copier paper. 3 seconds to dry, which was rather nice. You still get good shading, no bleed feather spread, rich color, good dry time. I feel like the water test really wasn't that, okay, the paper reacted badly, but the water test wasn't that bad. It is light, but it is there, and it's there pretty consistently, which was kind of nice. Yeah, really not too bad. Next is Mead Notebook Paper. 3 seconds to dry, but yeah, it's just a mess. It's a lot flatter. It's a lot woolier. It, you know, it really does look, it starts to look like steel wool. You know, like those SOS scrubby pads. Water test, not great. Yeah, not ideal pen paper ink combo. I mean, we've seen worse, but that doesn't mean I'd say that this is good. So, and last is Moleskine notebook paper. 5 seconds to dry, which isn't terrible. It might be a tad on the long side. There's a little bit of shading. I said it was like only 2% of the original shading, which I stand by. Feathering, because there is feathering everywhere. I mean, I'd say that maybe it would do better in a finer nib, but this really isn't the broadest nib, and it's still... Water test isn't terrible. And then again, I'm pretty consistent, like all the way through, so not ideal, but So there you go, that's Noodler's Midnight Blue. It's a great dark blue that isn't a blue-black. It really is like a dark midnighty blue. Yeah, it's complex. It's not terribly water resistant. It's reliable. It's got good flow. It's got decent dry times. It's admittedly, partly why I use it so much is because I've had it for a long, long time. But it's a good ink. It's reliable. I'd recommend it. Maybe not for addressing envelopes, but for writing the letters inside them, definitely. So there you go, that's Noodler's Midnight Blue. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up. If you'd like to see more, please subscribe to the channel. And so long from the Triple N Network. Bye.